We're Russ Moore in the Go Local Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Thanks for coming in. Oh, I want to shake your hand. Do you want to blow it up?
That's right.
Oh,
The dark cloud that follows me wherever I go in perpetuity has followed me from Pawtucket right here into Providence. I brought
the rain.
Here comes the rain again.
Russ Moore, never a dull moment
Falling
when you
on
come
my
in.
head
Never when
like
you
a
come
memory.
in.
All right, I'll stop now.
Do you just want to do a little karaoke
No,
hour?
no, I
Russ, always fun. Always
All right,
amazing.
let's have some fun.
Hot or not, let's have some fun.
All
Let's
right.
see who is hot this week. We're going to run down the list here. As always, I use my notes. Let's talk. TF Green Airport.
Yeah, the airport is super hot because they're adding all these airlines and they're adding all these new direct flights to Europe, to the West Coast, to South, to everywhere, right? And I think that's awesome for the Rhode Island economy, and it's a big, nice thing for Governor Gina Raimondo, who's actually on the not hot list. We're going to talk about her in a little bit, but it's kind of a silver lining to the gray cloud that's been following around the governor. So I put on the TF Green Airport on the hot list this week.
You know, it was interesting. It was the third major announcement in 3 weeks. This week was Allegiant, a very low-cost carrier to just a number
We like
of...
that.
We like low-cost carriers. And it was interesting what they were talking about, even the governor as well, saying, you know, a lot of families sit around the table, you know, they don't have a lot of expendable income as to where we're going to go on vacation. If there's
Right.
places that you can take the family at an affordable price, you know, to see TF Green really be taking off like this, you just got to wonder, what's the next announcement from the airport?
Hopefully keep it coming. Keep it coming. Let's make this like an airport that's competitive with Logan. That would be great.
I heard someone coined the phrase Nogan, like not Logan, with like a circle with like traffic crossed out.
I'm totally down with that. Parking at Logan is an absolute nightmare. So if I can get flights from TF Green to somewhere that I want to go, I'm picking them every time over Logan. And I think most people are with me.
Nogan, not Logan. Okay,
Yeah,
keep
Nogan.
an eye.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on TF Green.
right.
Hot list this week. Representative Patricia Morgan.
Yeah, I gave Representative Morgan, the House Minority Leader, a lot of credit because she's been against these tolls vociferously every single step of the way, and it seems like she's been right a lot more than she's been wrong, if she's ever even been wrong on this issue, because it seems like the analysis coming out shows that these tolls could actually cost us money. They could actually lose money. There's a possibility because the DOT overestimated the revenue and they underestimated the expenses. I hope that doesn't come to pass, but my gosh, if this whole thing ends up losing money for some reason, that's a bad start.
Well, one of the things they pointed out, you got to give it to the Republican Party, just because, you know, this had gone through a year ago, and it's going to be implemented at, you know, the next year.
Sure.
But they're continuing to go through and make the case for why this shouldn't be the case. And one of the things they pointed to were some numbers put out by the truckers that said not as many truckers as you guys are anticipating coming through for that tolling number. Now, again, we had Chris Maxwell with the Trucking Association, and we'll see what happens. If they prove harm, there's going to be some legal battles. These tolls are not going up without a fight.
Right. I mean, that's for sure.
And Patricia Morgan's fighting, and she is hot. Another
Hot for
politician
fighting.
on the hot list. You put Peter Kilmartin on the hot list.
Sure, I put Peter Kilmartin on the hot list because he joined some other attorney generals across the country to stand against the congressional Republicans who actually today gutted a lot of the Dodd-Frank Act from 2010, in particular the consumer protections that were put into that law. Look, everyone knows that there needs to be modifications to Dodd-Frank. We can't cripple the finance industry, although they always seem to be doing well. But I think taking away the consumer protection advocacy in the bill is a bad thing, and I gave the Attorney General credit for standing against that.
Okay, Peter Kilmartin on the hot list. Let's see
Sure.
who else. Let's keep going down. You know, I'll jump from one of the politicians and go to Olivia Culpo. Just landed some big news this week.
Sure, I put Olivia Culpo on the hot list, not for obvious reasons. I put her on because she just landed a big role in this new movie that's coming out. It's called
Reprisal
with Bruce Willis. This could be another big break for the beauty queen from Cranston. So I thought it would be a good week to give her some credit. Nice to see a local girl doing well, so I threw her on the hot list.
Gonna give Joe Calabro credit here. He's the one who broke the story here
Yes,
in the market
my
that
man.
it was Olivia Culpo.
My man Joe Calabro, he's the best. so-
Joe for breaking the story here.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to politicians. Who else is hot? Warwick, Joe Solomon Jr.
Senior. Joe Solomon Sr. On the hot list. He's actually the president of the city council. And the city council in Warwick, they reduced the Mayor Avedisian budget, which was going to slightly increase taxes, and they brought that tax increase down to a zero by cutting it. And I thought that was a really cool thing because like anyone else, Warwick residents can't withstand yearly tax increases, and they've had a lot of tax increases for consecutive years. So I wanted to give the city council some credit, and credit often goes to the leader. So I put Joe Solomon Sr. on the hot list.
Joe Solomon Sr. on the hot list. Okay, let's jump to the not hot list here. Another politician. You had Senator Herald Mets on the list.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about this bill that Senator Mets has sponsored, which would effectively disallow Rhode Island from sentencing juveniles who commit heinous crimes as adults and give them life without parole. It would mean the next Craig Price to come along would not be able to get life without parole, which is why we're allowed to do that, and which we have a law to do that here. So I understand what Senator Metz is trying to do. He's trying to give people a second chance, but there are some people that don't deserve second chances in rare instances.
And you point out the Craig Price instance.
That's the best example, but there are others. So I hope the Senate has second thoughts, and I hope they don't pass this bill. And if they do pass it, I hope it gets shot down in the House, and if that, I hope the governor vetoes it. It's not a good idea. It's not good for law and order. So, Senator Metz is a good guy, but this is not hot. He's on the not hot list.
Okay, have him on the hot not list.
A
hot not list.
Yep.
The not hot list. Going down the not hot list. Steve O'Donnell.
Sure. It just seems like that investigation into 38 studios by the state police was mishandled. When you have perhaps the best, one of the best lawyers, brightest lawyers in Rhode Island, his name is Max Wistow, and he was the plaintiff for the state of Rhode Island in the civil case, which won us back millions and millions of dollars, telling you that there's a lot here that could be considered criminal. I think you'd give that a second thought and try to make that a criminal case, especially since the people of Rhode Island were severely harmed in this case. But apparently it had no effect. And again, when credit goes to the leadership when something good happens, blame goes to the leadership when something bad happens. So I ended up putting former state police chief, police colonel Stephen O'Donnell on the not hot list for that.
Well, I'll tell you, this document that came out that Go Local had broken the story on was an additional set of documents, again, as we had requested and sued for the release of these interview notes and these notes from the investigation. They said originally a couple months ago that they gave us all the information that they had. We saw some documents released just last week. We saw some documents released this week.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out later.
I had someone ask me on social media, are there documents under your fridge? I mean,
right.
Do we know? But to see this email, again, by Max Wistow, again, I always like to say it's the world according to Russ, but, very astute point. Why wasn't Max Wistow listened to? I think folks ask that very same question.
I like that word, astute. Very astute.
You're very astute. You're incredibly astute. Yes. Let's keep on going. The world according to Russ.
All right.
Let's switch now. Let's go maybe to the sports world. Jerry Remy.
Yeah, well, very insensitive comment by the Red Sox announcer. And look, he's very popular. Got a big fan base. He's been around since the late '80s, but he said that that the players shouldn't have interpreters on the mound. He was referring to Yankee superstar pitcher Tanaka, who's from Japan. And I just think that was very insensitive because Major League Baseball is trying to market itself as an international game. It's trying to grow the game. And for him to say that we shouldn't have foreign language speakers playing the game, or for him to imply that we shouldn't have foreign language speakers playing the game, I think was really insensitive, and I think it was wrong-headed because, like I said, the game's trying to grow. It's trying to become a worldwide game. That's why they have that World Baseball Classic every several years. So, yeah, I put him on the not hot list for that. I think that was an insensitive comment he could have done without.
What's the follow-up, Ben? I don't listen to sports radio that often. I'm not in that world.
Seems like a lot of people have been defending him. It seems like it hasn't been the negative fallout that you would expect. Again, he's a really popular guy. We all make mistakes. We all say things we shouldn't have said. I've had to grovel and beg for forgiveness in the past myself, so I can certainly sympathize with his position. He did apologize, so let's give him credit for that.
So he did apologize.
Yes.
That was going to be my next
and he
question.
had a lot of defenders, but he's still not hot. Come on, this is the world according to Russ. Jerry Remy, not hot.
Okay, speaking of saying things or doing things, the social media nonsense you said.
Yeah, social media nonsense. It's got to stop. Stop with the social media nonsense. Kids, adults, especially adults, everybody. Harvard University rescinded the acceptance letters from 10 students who had posted some really vulgar, really insensitive nonsense on Facebook that was, in some cases, sexist, in some cases, racist. And you know what? Good for the school for doing that. You know what? These people, though they're not going to get a Harvard degree, they learned a lesson from Harvard. Hold your tongue. Don't be insensitive. Don't be rude. That's not tolerated. So I give Harvard credit for that.
You know, it's interesting. They're oftentimes heavy-handed with things. There's a lot of reaction. We asked Brown if they have a similar policy.
They don't.
They don't. They say they monitor it, but I think they were trying to walk that middle ground because you have people saying, okay, here you have an institution that says total free speech is allowed, but then people have said, you know, within the bounds, the confines of what's accepted and not, again, plenty of speech and hate speech has been basically pointed out by folks and called out, and that's exactly what Harvard did.
When they say that all speech is accepted, I think they mean all speech that adds to the discourse or that furthers dialogue or that furthers intellectual growth. I don't think blatantly racist nonsense is what they're referring to. So I give them credit.
Not hot list, you're the governor this week?
Yeah, the governor, right? It seems like I said about these tolls, it seems like this was her signature proposal. And it could be a nightmare. It looks like it could be problematic. Not only do these things have the capacity to not bring in the revenue that she had hoped for, but we've got the truckers, as you mentioned. Chris Maxwell was just in studio talking about how they're planning legal action. So this whole thing could be a mess really quickly. Further, she's about to unveil the new computer systems, as Go Local reported today at the DMV. If that rollout is half as bad as the UHIP disaster, that's another nightmare, okay? And then we have our free college tuition plan, which was, I think, really poorly thought out and really poorly presented. There were no means tests. There was nothing that forced students to give back what we'd be giving to them. That plan is dead. So all these proposals and plans are either disasters or dead on arrival because they would be disasters. So I think the governor needs to get her act together or else, you know, $10 million isn't going to save you in the next election.
We're going to be keeping an eye closely on that. One last item on the not hot list
Sure.
that has been very much in the news this past couple of days is what's going on in Twin River between the Unite Here management of Twin River. They've come to a tentative agreement in the most recent day, but the labor said that they were going to be going on a 2-day strike.
Okay.
Yep. So again, what's your thoughts on this?
I thought Obamacare settled all these health care issues. That was my first response when I read this story in Go Local. I said, wait a minute, why are these people paying so much for their health care? I thought President Obama saved us with his Affordable Health Care Act. What's so affordable about single mothers having to pay $250 or $270 a week to pay for health care for their children? So that was my first reaction. I thought, what's all this fuss in Congress about repealing it when it's not working anyway? So that was my first reaction. Second reaction was, I think that Twin River makes a ton of money. I think that the state legislature has passed numerous initiatives to help them make more money, so they should be able to pay their employees a little bit more so that they can afford health care. That was my second reaction.
Okay.
All
Did
right.
you have more reactions?
No,
Did
just
you
two.
get 1, 2?
That was 2. I had 2 of them. Should I have had
Only 2.
more?
I don't know. You can have as many reactions as you
All
want,
right,
so
all right.
you know.
All right.
I don't
I'm not
judge.
I'm not capped.
You're not capped at reactions, clearly.
All right.
Well, as always, appreciate you breaking down the world according to Russ.
Up top?
Up top? Boom. Okay.
All right.
I need pointers because I never know where you're
You never
going.
know where you never know what I'm
I
going to
never
do.
know where you're going.
All right, I'll see you next week.
Okay, Russ Moore, Go Local columnist every Monday, and then of course Go Local's hot or not expert. It's always the world according to Russ, and as I always say, you might agree with them, you might disagree with them, but it's his take on who's up, who's down in Rhode Island on Go Local. So as always, appreciate Russ coming into the